Good afternoon, this is Naresh Puri on the BBC Asian Network. It's 12 minutes past 2. Earlier this month, 5 terror suspects lost their battle against their extradition from Britain to the United States. One of those men was Talha Ahsan, who faces similar charges as Babar Ahmed. He has spent more than 5 years in detention without trial. His brother, Hamza Ahsan, is with me now to tell his story about what Talha and his family are going through. Good afternoon.
Thank you for inviting me, Naresh.
Thank you very much indeed for coming, and I really do appreciate it. Hamza, just tell me about Saeed. Just tell me the sort of individual that he is.
Talha's a bit like a very quiet, sort of bookish academic type. He's diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome too, like the Gary McKinnon case, meaning he's a bit ultra tidy and a bit annoying sometimes too. But he's, kept his strength up whilst being put in, what Babar Ahmed described as the most unimaginable type of psychological torture. If you're held with detention without trial, it's not like you've got something to count down to or a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just the government's abusively detaining you year after year after year. It's been almost 6 years now. 6 years in a few months, and so sometimes it's just unbearable. It punished the whole family.
But I can tell from your face, you're obviously very, very emotional, and it's taken a huge toll on your family. But I just want you to give our listeners, just tell us about Talha, about, him growing up, where you grew up, the sort of guy that he is. You said he was very academic as well, but just describe him to me.
Sure. We grew up in Tutin, a very South Asian type of area. He's also a keen listener to BBC Asian Network and listen to this right now. Right. So I've got that pressure on. And we just did normal things, played PlayStation together. I'm an artist and curator, so being Asians as well, they're not, if you're middle class, you have to be an accountant or a doctor or IT worker. And Talha liked poetry and I like contemporary art, so we were like a bit of misfits. We grew up,
but very close. You're very close as brothers.
Yeah, I grew up with him. I shared a bed. I shared a bunk bed with him. He's just 1 year older than me. Yeah.
So very emotionally tied together.
Yeah, I always feel my brother's pain, and the last week has been one of the most terrifying and painful weeks of my life. But I have my duty to my brother to fight for what is a miscarriage of justice. You're
very, very emotional. I can definitely sense that. But I'd like you to sort of just give the guys at home just an insight into your brother's case. Now, he's facing we both know, very, very serious allegations in the United States. The Americans are saying they have jurisdiction. That means that they want him there. And there is a possibility that he could, if he's found guilty in the United States, face a very, very long sentence in what I presume will be a supermax prison. Is that right?
Yes, he'll be placed, before trial even, up to 3 years pre-trial in solitary confinement in the most extreme form of isolation in a place called ADX Florence, where they keep the most dangerous people, and people go psychotic through this sort of solitary confinement. You're in a cell, a 7-foot cell, for 23 hours a day without any human contact, without any sunlight. This is, even the United Nations Special Rapporteur described this type of conditions as torture, and even the European Committee described this as inhuman. It's just, this is before a trial. He's already spent nearly 6 years without a trial, without charge, without prima facie evidence before a court. He'd be held another 3 years. You're innocent until proven guilty, aren't you?
Now, Hamza, he faces very serious allegations. The Americans are simply saying he's a serious player involved in Azam.com, this website where raising support for jihad around the world. That's why the Americans want him, and that's why he faces a possibility, if found guilty, of a very, very long sentence in a supermax. How do you answer those allegations? What are you saying? How are you defending your brother?
I think the whole case is very flimsy, and probably of all the cases, because the basis on which Americans want to extradite him is a web server for a few months in Connecticut. Although Azam was hosted, if he's never had his day in court to say whether he's actually what his actual involvement is, and the Americans don't have to provide prima facie evidence for this too. Which, if you don't have to provide evidence on the basis of this new piece of legislation, the extradition treaty in 2003, it's stupid. And, the right place to answer these questions is in a British court of law, and with a fair UK trial. And that's what we've always asked for the last 5-6 years, and Barber for the last 8 years. You know, we're not trying to escape or evade justice. We're asking for a fair UK trial.
Hamja, Babar Ahmad has actually said, and I was there and I know, that he's actually said that he's fought in Bosnia. I remember a few sentences that he came out with. He said that he went out to Bosnia and he could not see, he could not pass a cup of water to a woman that had been raped, who had been attacked. Okay, he felt that he had to defend people out there in Bosnia. Your brother, has he ever fought abroad? Is he politically aware at the very least?
Talha's a very intelligent person and a very sensitive person, but no, that's why I said the case is so flimsy. Talha, he had a job interview to be a librarian on the day he got arrested, right? And that's the type of person he is, like a librarian type. And he's about as much threat to the British public and to the Americans as a librarian. And no, he hasn't received any military training. And Bosnia was the worst massacre since World War II, and every human being should feel upset about it. But no, Talha's... Talha's not... I wish I had the pleasure of meeting him. He's quite similar to me in lots of respects. Now he spent 1/5 of his life detained without charge, almost. I mean, this is terrible. And this, in France doesn't extradite its own citizens, and in Ireland, a British judge decides whether the best place of the trial took place. So Talha's never been to America in his whole life, right? Why should a country he's never been to be able to detain him for over 6 years without trial, charge, or even evidence that can be examined in the court of law? This is disturbing, and not just for British Muslims, but for all British citizens.
Hamja, we cannot escape the fact that the Americans say he's facing extremely serious charges, funding, helping to fund mujahideen, helping to fund wars, essentially, that he was raising money for mujahideen to kill individuals and possibly kill innocent individuals. Is he prepared to face a court?
Yes, he's prepared to face a fair British trial as a British citizen who's never been to America. And as I said, if it's very easy to prove all these things. The funny thing is, our house was raided in February, right? Our family house, my mum and dad, right? At the request of the Americans, they took our computers, my CDs, my PlayStation 2 memory card, even. I mean, that's how ridiculous it was. Now, they returned the computers back the next day, right? And this is the same computers we used the same day. Like if there was anything incriminating on those computers, they returned them back with all the contents intact. If things were that dangerous or incriminating, then there's all these holes in the case. Why do they do silly things like that? It's just...
The Americans do have jurisdiction because it was a website based in Connecticut, so that's why they're saying, we want Babar Ahmad to face charges in the United States. You cannot dispute that.
Look, your email has probably got a US server. Most .com or .net cases have a US server. There's the most ridiculous extradition case, someone called Richard Dyer, who set up a website called TV Shack, right? That isn't even illegal in the UK. He's going to be extradited. His mother, who's campaigning and getting extradition, who's been wonderfully supportive, like Gary McKinnon's mother, sent me the loveliest messages during the darkest times. And you've had this guy called Christopher Tapin, who Americans accuse of selling batteries to Iran, a 65-year-old man, right? And he's been held in solitary confinement. This is disgusting that, the Conservative government, Cameron and Clegg, sit by and watch that happen to a British citizen. A government should look after its own individuals.
Hamja, there are those individuals sitting at home would say, who are appalled by terrorism, who would be appalled by an individual who'd be raising money for mujahideen to kill innocent people, whether it be in Chechnya or Bosnia. That's what people at home are thinking at the moment. Some of them.
Yes.
So, they would support Cameron and Clegg saying, yes, this individual should face charges out in the United States, because essentially that's where, through this website, these offences took place.
No, actually, the website had about several servers from around the world, including Malaysia. Why don't they extradite him too? No, I'm sure everybody believes in the right to a fair trial. I'm sure everybody believes basic standards of British justice, such you don't detain someone indefinitely. I'm sure everyone would support Gary McKinnon's case, which is absurd, and has the front page of the Daily Mail, due to his inspirational campaigning mother. I'm sure everyone thinks Richard Dye's case is ridiculous. And yeah, as I said, he wants a fair British trial in a...
He's a British citizen, let him face a British court, is what you're saying.
Yes, that's what we've said. And it would save a lot of money and a lot of convenience, and the ordeal and terror inflicted on my family for the last 6 years. You know, Caroline Lucas has spoke about this very bravely from the Green Party. Sadiq Khan yesterday said, you know, Labour supports their right to be tried in the UK. And that's where we stand too.
Okay, you can speak to Hamja. What is your opinion about the plight of Syed Talha Ahsan? Call 08459 440 445, text 81869, email nahal@bbc.co.uk. Let's push aside, you know, what's happening with the court process, etc. How does a family deal with, you know, a brother who is alleged to be a terror suspect? How has it taken its toll on your family?
Look, my father's a very typical British Asian dad. He's excessively concerned about our school grades and doesn't show that much emotion. And it's unbearable and heartbreaking to see him break down crying in public and on TV and on the internet every day. Go to the YouTube channel at YouTube/Free Talha, and you can see all these videos for yourself. You know, my father's 73 years old. My mother's disabled. It's me against, you know, the world's against the world's greatest superpower. It's I need all the support I can get.
When you say it's you against the biggest superpower, just tell me what you mean by that, Hamja.
As in, I'm sorry.
You're trying to defend your brother against a superpower. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, guys at home, at work, wherever you may be. What is your opinion about the plight of Syed Talha Ahsan? Call 08459 440 445, text 81869, email nahal@bbc.co.uk. We've got one from Khan who says, this is to you from Khan. He says, be strong, my brother. Allah is great. Shame on our spineless government to allow our citizens to be sent and face a kangaroo court. That's from Khan. You see your brother. How often do you see? Is he in Long Lartin at the moment?
He's in Long Lartin. We usually go there every Sunday. It's
Category A.
Category A, yeah. So we often return home feeling quite disturbed. If people don't understand what Asperger's syndrome is, you might know the film My Name is Khan with Shah Rukh Khan, which is also about someone accused by Americans of being terrorists. Shah Rukh Khan was recently detained, you know, unbelievably. If you've read The Curious Incident of a Dog, that's another. Just to put an Asperger's sufferer in extreme solitary confinement, right? That's just... No, it's just disgusting. But having said that, we've got hundreds of messages of support. If you look at the hashtag Free Talha on Twitter, and I encourage everyone to tweet Free Talha on the hashtag. The most retweeted tweet was actually by Riz Ahmed of Four Lions fame, Road to Contamino. Talha really loved Road to Contamino. We watched it together. That was one of the last films we watched. And Guantanamo Bay shows how abusive and unconstitutional the American treat world citizens. You know, how can we trust like governments like that? If we just look at the Bradley Manning case, you know, you've got someone unconstitutionally detained and abused. It's all extremely disturbing and upsetting and disgusting.